I don't see this house making it.
It started with a strong wind warning. The Santa Anas are nothing new for people who live in Southern California, but this was different.
That is a wall of flames, people.
And we've got some strong winds on the way. This is a particularly dangerous situation. This is about as bad as it gets in terms of fire weather.
At 10:29 in the morning on Tuesday, January 7th, the first 911 call was made to the LA Fire Department about a brush fire near homes in the affluent Pacific Palisades community.
This is Gary and Shannon in the Palisades. Right now, they say this beast started at about 10 acres. That was the quickest estimate you could get, already at 10 acres, but with the potential to spread to 200 acres within 20 minutes.
According to dispatch reports, the first firefighters arrived within 20 minutes on the ground and with aerial support. But by then, the flames, propelled by unrelenting winds of more than 60 to 80 miles per hour, had more than doubled.
The first flames just near Goat Peak, if you know that is, and it's headed down towards the Palisades, 30 to 40 mile an hour sustained winds, and then gusts could be higher than that.
Over the next few hours, there would be a mad scramble of people trying to gather what they could of their belongings and get down the hill to safety, while firefighters and other first responders tried to get closer to the flames. They were quickly overwhelmed and surrounded with the fast-moving fire and intense smoke that blackened the sky.
0% containment. Preliminary reports estimate the damaged or destroyed structures to be in the thousands.
The devastation was almost immediate and widespread. More than 10,000 homes were under evacuation orders. A man named Curtis told reporters he lost everything.
I mean, everybody's lost, not just this community. The community next door, I'm sure all the people up there have lost everything. It's just pretty devastating. This is pretty devastating. I don't think LA's seen anything like this before, not even the earthquake.
People tried to save what they could, but with the rugged terrain and narrow streets in the Palisades, it was nearly impossible to try to escape as the streets became gridlocked. Some even abandoned their cars, fleeing on foot, which made it difficult for firefighters to get trucks to the fire line. The rest of Los Angeles and the world listened to radio reports and watched video of local news and on social media, showing the chaos, confusion, and heartbreak unfold as people fought for their lives and watched their homes burn.
Don't know. I'm going to go sit and watch the news all day.
And while the Palisades fire tore down the hillside and into Malibu with no signs of slowing down, a new threat emerged.
We're talking about this fire in the Palisades, but you've got news that there's something else going on?
It started out as 10 acres. Now it's bigger in Eaton Canyon on the east end of Altadena and border of Pasadena. They got full brush response from LA County and Pasadena on it. And
James Brotherton from the National Weather Service in LA told KFI's Tim Conway Jr. 40 miles across town near the quiet community of Altadena, a new fire had sparked in Eaton Canyon. Residents reported seeing flames at 6:10, but evacuations weren't ordered until more than an hour later. And within the hour, the fire had reached homes and many people began to self-evacuate.
I wish I could explain how the Santa Ana winds really are on any given day, but they were going 80 miles an hour, and despite the fires themselves, it was just an absolute windstorm. We've heard about fires in our area for years. I mean, we live in the mountains. It's a very normal thing. Never have we thought about something being as close as it was until we received a text message with a photo that showed the fire just a few miles from our home behind our church.
Lauren Ben and her daughter Lori recalled the terrifying winds and heavy smoke that filled the air as they left behind the home that had been in their family for generations.
And then we realized how serious the fires were and that there might be a chance to evacuate.
That night, the winds were at least 95 miles per hour. And even when we were packing the cars, the hood kept falling on our heads because the wind was so strong. Small little tornadoes in the road, and then trees were down, wires were down. It was one of the most scary things.
KFI's continuing coverage of the fires, plural, not only the Palisades fire, but also the emerging Eaton Canyon fire. We're getting
an entire nursing home was forced to evacuate before first responders arrived. The images of the elderly and infirm surrounded by smoke and flames were hard to watch. Reportedly, firefighters called for backup multiple times but were told none were available. They said hydrants failed and the flames grew stronger, overtaking historic homes and businesses within minutes. One firefighter even used a pool to fill a trash can with water.
And we have 0% containment. We have several reported injuries and over 1,000 structures damaged and destroyed.
Former LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley and LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney told the public that the extreme wind and drought created a rare and deadly combination that made it nearly impossible to stop the wildfires in the Palisades in Altadena on January 7th. It would be 24 days before the last flames of the Palisades in Eaton Canyon were finally put out. When the smoke cleared and embers died down, 30 people were killed, 12 in the Palisades, 18 in the Altadena area. More than 16,000 structures were destroyed, most of them homes. The Palisades and Eaton fires were among the most destructive in California history, with an estimated $94 billion to $164 billion in total capital and property loss. With so much devastation and loss, how do these communities begin to recover? Now, 6 months later, there is finally a ray of hope. As daylight broke on January 8th, the full scope of the catastrophe was still coming into view. Fire was devouring everything in the Palisades and Altadena, from schools and churches to mobile home parks and celebrity estates, along with state parks and iconic restaurants. Thousands of people left without homes, businesses were gutted, and many people remained unaccounted for. And the flames were still raging. It would be 24 days until the last ember was extinguished.
Really, the entire foothills above us was just completely in flames.
Jose Valenzuela is a longtime Altadena resident and owner of Altadena Grocery Outlet, a staple in the community. He says thankfully his family and his employees were safe from the fires, and shockingly, his grocery store was spared from destruction.
We suffer very minor actual structural damage to our building, which is just, again, can't really make sense of it. But everything around us, unfortunately, and I mean literally everything around us has burned to the ground.
In the months since the fire, he has felt the real heat of loss.
When we open, we pretty much dropped 50%. We know it's going to come back and we will rebuild, and we are, looking forward and pushing ahead. But the reality is going to be a little while. There's no people living in our community at this moment.
In fact, many of the businesses that remain in the fire areas are struggling to keep their doors open.
Webster's has been here since 1926. So we are 99 years old in Altadena.
Meredith Miller, who owns the historic Webster's Community Pharmacy, says she and her husband scrambled the night of the fire to find another pharmacy that could temporarily handle their customers' prescriptions and ensure patients had access to their medications.
There's a Bank of America that basically shares the parking lot here, and they burned down. So at that point, we kind of figured it was over for us. When we got back in here in mid-February, we had to literally destroy everything. So that was tough. Every pill, every item on the shelf had to go. And so when we got back in here, we were basically empty and starting all over again.
What were those first few weeks like after you reopened your business?
So the first couple of weeks of being here were frankly very difficult for everybody. There were a lot of tears, a lot of trauma, a lot of shock. People kind of just in a daze coming in. They needed to get a prescription, and all we did was hug and feel, and just be grateful that we were all alive and that we were going to overcome this somehow.
There's still a long way to go for residents to recover and rebuild. Altadena Town Council Chair Victoria Knapp says there is no set timeline for full restoration, but progress is steadily being made.
Rebuilding is just getting underway. There are homes, the first permits that were issued, that are underway.
Knapp lost her home, as did many of her friends and neighbors.
We were the first neighborhood, or among the first neighborhoods, to be evacuated.
She says the biggest need in the community right now is financial.
What folks are facing now is the real financial reality of rebuilding a home from the foundation up. We are battling with the insurance commissioner. We are battling with insurers. Anyone who has paid a premium into their policy to protect them in situations like this is deserving of having their full payout as quickly as possible. And that isn't happening.
According to the LA County Permitting Progress Dashboard, they've received over 1,000 applications to rebuild in fire zone areas, and 85 building permits have been issued so far. 43 of those are for single-family homes, and only one of those homes is in the Palisades. Despite the average wait time of 51 days, the Army Corps of Engineers says debris cleanup is months ahead of schedule.
We were thinking it would take about a year, and now we are, I think when I look at both fires, we're about 94% complete.
Colonel Jose Avishal with the Army Corps of Engineers says they remove debris, fire ash, asbestos, and the foundation if necessary, then hand over the land back to the owner. He says making sure the soil is stable is an essential part of their job. What has been the biggest challenge then in clearing these wildfire zones, especially in the more hillside areas like the Palisades?
So you hit it right there. Logistics is it drives the entire operation, right? And so, the hillside properties, especially in the Palisade and the cliffside properties, they have been really challenging.
How does the speed of this wildfire recovery differ from other wildfire recovery efforts?
This one has been unique from a lot of different aspects. We also have a really huge industrial base to rely on. We have lots of potential contractors in California that can come and surge assets. So that has been a huge benefit here. Another huge benefit has been just the partnership. So between the county, the state, federal government, all working in unison.
Across town, places like the Real Inn and Moon Shadows along PCH in Malibu were completely destroyed. Now, 6 months later, one sign of hope that things are moving forward, the iconic restaurant Gladstone's has opened its oceanside deck for business.
But we still have this public deck where everyone can come and hang out. And this is open to the public all the time. You don't have to buy stuff from us. You can come visit. If you're visiting your property that's here and just don't have a place to hang out, this is the spot.
Both communities face a long road ahead. Recovery will take months, even years. But Californians are no stranger to resilience. As the physical reconstruction moves slowly forward, the emotional scars remain. Residents of the Palisades in Altadena are determined to keep their communities in the spotlight, not just for the next 6 months, but for years and generations to come.
This devastation has bonded us for sure, but it's been hard.
And we're a strong community. We know we're gonna overcome this, but I think it's important for us to continue to share the story.